So when you're looking for houses, you look at a lot of different factors. Where is the house located? What's the style? What kind of condition is it in? You look at all those things, but do you ever check on the flood status? Well, normally, unless that place is on a body of water, people don't think about that too much. But some houses are in a floodplain and seem far away with the remote chance of flooding, and they're actually sitting in a floodplain. So we know about properties that are oceanfront, that are lakefront, riverfront. We check on those things, but there are often some properties that seem far away from a big body of water where they can't be affected. And sometimes, though, we just have some creeks and streams that actually get overtaxed when it rains, and the property might be in a floodplain and you don't know it. We really, really need to check on this status and make sure that what you're buying is not going to be susceptible to flooding. There are flood codes that the agent can check on. There are possibilities for 100-year floodplains or 500. I've had property listed that's actually in a partial floodplain where the back of the property met up with a huge creek, and the back end of that property is actually in the floodplain, but the houses were not allowed to be built in the floodplain. This is one thing that's often overlooked unless people know that there's a huge body of water nearby. But I've had acreage listed on the Ohio River, and people would call up and ask if it was in a floodplain. And obviously, that type of a situation, yes. What most people didn't understand about that particular property was that the river could push anything up along the bank, because the Ohio River moves along pretty fast. So there are other things, maintenance-wise, that you'd have to consider with a piece of property like that. So please, please, please check on flood status. Sometimes, though, the property can be susceptible to flooding, but the status looks fine. And we find this in older areas, especially, in Cincinnati, we've had this happen before, where the infrastructure, the sewers, storm sewer is older, and when there is torrential rain and a lot of rain and the river really gets up high, you can actually have storm sewer backup that will flood the entire area in the city. Very important to check on flood status and to know that area you're buying in, because you can have floods in a city or in an area where you don't expect them to occur, yet you get flooding anyway. So if you have questions about this or any other topic, you can always call me at 513-236-1254. You can private message me, and if you're watching on YouTube, please feel free to subscribe. Thanks, bye.